Okay, so now that we've got this put together, let's actually go about putting together our regression analysis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, I'm going to move and copy, create a copy of my data, because I never want to play, I always want my, my unfocused raw data moved somewhere. Now I'm going to rename this, and we're going to call it reg for regression. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all this other stuff that we've got, but we've got a copy of it, so we can start fresh. Now I am going to modify those values, and 1 second, I need to pause my phone. Nothing like not silencing your phone during recording a video. It's about as good as doing the same thing in class. So what I want to do now is I want to set up what my regression is going to be. I'm going to need a couple of dummy variables to do that. And since I'm going to do that, I'm going to start in column H here and build up my independent and dependent variable. So the first thing I'm going to do is I just want to grab my dependent variable. And that's going to be my sales. I am going to just go, and we'll drag this down, because I just want to duplicate the data. I don't want to do anything with it. Just, once again, leave my raw data over here. And so we'll center that up, and I'm going to drop these all bold in the top. Okay, so the next thing is we talked about binning out our months, because our months are going to be important. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make a new category, and that first new category is going to be June-September. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a dummy variable. So I'm going to use our if statement. Now I'm going to use an or statement because we want it to come up if it's June or July or August or September. And so let's just go and slap that together. And so it's all going to be if this value, and this is the value that we're going to allow to roll. And in fact, before we even do that, let us rename some cells. So I'm going to take January through December there. Copy. I'm just going to bring this over, because what I want to do is I want to name these cells. Well, actually, I'm going to name these cells here instead. Actually, no, we can do it like this, because we're going to go data, and then I always do that. It's formulas, not data. Create from selection, and we're going to create it from the right column. Say OK. So that's going to take everything from the right column, and it's going to rename these cells January through December. Now I can get rid of this. Once again, I do that to make it a little bit easier to see what's going on in my formula. So I want to say if logical, or I need the parentheses to make it a test. So if, not sales, if this month here is equal to June, comma, so or this month is equal to July, or this month is equal to August, or this month is equal to September. And I kind of left that out. Need to actually put the month in is equal to September. And I kept saying or every time I put the comma in, because that's what the comma just means. It means or. And so I have these, and now these are all locked in, so I'm not going to have to worry about things rolling. As I pull it down, they won't index. So I'm going to run that logical test. So if any of those months come up, if the value is true, I want it to put in a 1. If it's not, I want it to be a 0. And so obviously I get nothing in January because it is not one of those months. So I am going to center that and double click here, which drags it down, and let's see if our equation works out well. And no, there's a problem because I'm only picking up June. So let's see what we did wrong. Why doesn't this one pick up? Oh, because, you know, I used the sales, and it's actually B2. So I screwed that up. Once again, this is why it's important just to click down there and go, Oh, why is sales in there? That's an issue. So everywhere this says I2, it really should have been B2. So we'll go back, B2, B2, B2. Double click that again and double try it. No, there we go. Now we've got ones where we expect them to be. Oh, the equation is beautiful. It works out. And okay, let's do our next variable, which is our mid-sales months. And I could have called this high sales and mid-sales, but I didn't. May or October. And I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to put together a logical. So if, and we're going to use that OR function. So is that going to be equal to May, or is that going to be equal to October? And so if it is equal to either of those, and once again, I actually have to put in the month equals to October. So if either of those are true, we want the software to come back 1. If it's false, we want it 0. So there's our dummy variable for May and October. And we'll roll that down. Let's see, we've got May, we've got October, so that seems to be working fine. Now, these are dummy variables. Well, what happens if it's that time period of November to May? Well, that means that it's going to be 0 and 0, just like it is up here. So in our regression equation, it will be 0, 0. So by default, it will be that low sales period. And so now we are going to go to our city. Excuse me, we're going to go to our year, because that is next. Now, we can do one of two things. We can pull the year over completely, or we can use a 1 and 0 to work out for the year. It really doesn't matter how we go about doing it. The dummy variable might be a little bit cleaner, or we can just leave it as a year if we want to run this again. And so, in fact, why don't we do that? We'll just leave it in as the year. Okay, we just equals to pull that over. Got the same thing with add cost. Add cost are going to be, we're just going to pull those over. So we'll say add cost. And then I'll just do that. And so once again, I'm going to take that and drag that all the way down. Unemployment rate, there's nothing to do with that. It is just the unemployment rate. So we'll bring that over and we will pull that down. Now the last thing that we have is we have the city. Now, so far, month was categorical data, which using our dummy variables, we did turn it into numeric data. Year can be numeric data, add cost, unemployment rate, all numeric data. City, though, city is once again categorical data. So we're going to have to convert this categorical data into numeric data. So what we're going to do for that is on the city. Now, San Francisco, if we go back to our data and we look at just how we put it together, San Francisco had higher sales than Phoenix did. So we're going to use Phoenix as our baseline. So if it's Phoenix, we'll make it a 0. If it's San Francisco, we're going to make it a 1. And once again, we picked Phoenix as 0 because that is our baseline. We'd rather have our regression equation have positives and negatives in it, so that makes things work out pretty well. So if, let's see, city, if this is equal to, and we'll run it as San Francisco because it's just quicker to type. If that's equal to SF, we'll call it 0. Otherwise, it will be a 1. And so far that looks good. And switches to 1s at Phoenix. Okay, and the only reason I picked San Francisco is that SF is much quicker to type than Phoenix. Okay, so now we have all of our data ready to begin our regression. And that's what we're going to do next time.